We all know about celebrating our wins, but what about celebrating our losses? There are some people that base their entire self worth on the successes that they have. Like, damn, I didn't get into the program that I wanted. I must be a dummy. Well, you're not. If you didn't get into the PhD program you wanted, hello, independent researchers exist. And there's actually some gifts to that where you don't have a whole entire system controlling you. No film school? No problem. Famously, Steven Spielberg was rejected from USC like 4 times, and now his name is on the damn building. Woo! I was thinking about this idea of celebrating our losses because it's underrated. And I don't know about you guys, but 2025 has been one of the worst years of my existence. And we don't have to get into that and why. We're not here to um, vomit information to the internet. I do try to remind myself whenever I'm going through a hard time that everything's temporary. But sometimes I'm like, but when's the part where I get to look back on it? Let's do an exercise. Let's think about something that feels like a failure from your life or a loss. We will turn it into something we can be grateful for. I'll go first. A few years ago, I almost got into the show Project Greenlight for HBO Max. If you're not familiar with Project Greenlight, it is a series where it follows a film director, making their first feature that's funded by HBO Max. There was a year that I was a semi-finalist, and it was the year that Issa Rae was a part of it. And I love Issa Rae. Issa Rae was my inspiration for starting my film Chevrons, which actually was a web series when it was still forming because of her web series, Awkward Black Girl. Such a good show that actually turned into the HBO show called Insecure. She's just brilliant all around. And there was this initiative with this series where they would follow specifically a female filmmaker. And of course, I had pitched myself as horror, because that's my jam. And I had gone through the interview and everything. At the end of the day, I did not get in. And even though the producers were super nice about it, I was super sad about it because I had worked so hard on that application. It included a video where you had to pitch yourself. The interview I practiced so many times. I had really given it my everything. But if we're thinking about how this failure can be celebrated, well, that's obvious. Because if I had gotten into that show, I would never have started a PhD. And that's where I am now. Because that was the in-between period. I had just finished my master's and was continuing to pursue filmmaking career. I still am, I'm still involved in film directing, etc. And that is a huge part of my PhD program because it's by practice. So I am making films as well as the written thesis. If I had gotten into Project Greenlight, I would have never started a kids horror podcast with my niece, and that would have never led to pursuing a doctorate in children's horror or children who make horror films, etc. And I would not be here in England enjoying like all this wonderful like culture and studies and these amazing friends and colleagues that I've made that would have never happened if I had stayed in America. At the same time, a contact of mine told me that not getting into Project Greenlight was a dodged bullet because with reality shows, if you're not familiar, you have to sign a contract that says if you get onto the show, we can edit the show to make you look like anything we want. That's basically what they tell you, and it's true. Some people kind of like ham that up. They're fine with like being represented a certain way as long as they're on TV. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure how much I would have been able to handle that kind of pressure. I'm a very sensitive person, you know. I enjoy reality shows. I'm not gonna lie, and it's different. I believe UK versus America. I've heard that American reality shows can be much more brutal because they like the drama, but in UK shows they're a little nicer. I don't know if that's true. Enough about reality shows and back to our reality. So that's my takeaway. To me, at the time, it felt like a huge failure, but it actually became a paved path into something that has become so wonderful and very challenging for me. But I am so happy that I am here. Not every day is wonderful, of course. Like, there's many things that are really challenging, but let's turn it back to you, my friend. I want you to think of something that you view as a loss or a failure and think about how it's actually a gift that you didn't get that job or you broke up with that person. You know, sometimes it is a person, sometimes it's a someone and not a something. And I promise you that whatever you think is a loss, it is actually a gift. I want you to take a moment to think about what that is and kind of unpack where it's led you today or how it's formed you as a person for the better. So, yes, please leave a comment if you're comfortable about what you found that to be. I would sincerely love to hear about what you have discovered about yourself. Which loss are you showing gratitude for today? Which reminds me, actually, there is a really cool app called With Gratitude. I promise this is not sponsored. Nobody sponsors me. I don't make any money. Hopefully one day. But there's this app called With Gratitude by Poppy Jamie and Suki Waterhouse. They created an app where you can share like lists of things you are grateful for. Once you share it, you can view what everyone else posts. It's more private. It's not like everyone on the who uses the app is going to be able to see what you post. Like, for example, I do it with my best friend and we have our own like circle, it's called. It encourages you to post once a day. For example, I'll post, then she can't see what I posted unless she posts her gratitude list. But you can also join public ones, like Suki Waterhouse has her own public one where she posts on. And yeah, so there's like tons of people if you want to post on there. But I think it's a lovely way to keep track of the good things that are happening in life because we do focus way too much on what's going wrong, especially me. The app is a great way to see what people are grateful for, especially your friends, kind of like celebrating her wins. An interesting exercise if we try to celebrate our losses. So we can do that more often. I would say celebrating losses is even more important than celebrating the wins. Poppy and Suki are actually bestie goals because this is not the first project that they've had together. They had one before called Pop and Suki, and I was like, I love that. The fact that two besties are just working on like making awesome things together. That is it for today. I hope it was helpful. A lot of the time when I'm talking about this stuff, it's more like I need to take my own advice because I talk like I know what the heck I'm doing, but I don't. And so I think these vlogs in a way are kind of like reflection. It's kind of like I'm talking to you, but at the same time, it's kind of like I'm talking to me too that I need to do this better. Please subscribe if you want to. And I hope I will see you in the next video. Let me know if you have any suggestions on what else I could discuss here on the vlog. Hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening. And till next time.